So today, we're going to unpack a really short but wow, incredibly profound passage from the Quran's third chapter, Al-Imran. Think of it as a masterclass in building resilience. It shows how any movement, any community, can learn to survive its leader by shifting its focus from a personality to a timeless principle. Right out of the gate, the Quran throws this huge question at us. It's a question that every single movement, every organization has to face sooner or later. It cuts right to the heart of a major human weakness. What happens when the charismatic leader is gone? I mean, does the whole thing just fall apart? You see, the Quran isn't just asking some hypothetical question here. It's actually diagnosing a fatal flaw that's super common to any group that's built around a single mortal person. So the Quran draws a really hard line. It says, look, the messenger's job is simply to deliver the message. That's it. The real danger, the weakness, is when people start to confuse the two, when the survival of the cause depends on the survival of the person. And that phrase, turning back on your heels, well, it's not just about running away from a battle. It's a psychological retreat. It's about abandoning the principle once the personality is no longer there. And crucially, the verse says this only harms the one who turns back. Okay, so problem number one is getting too attached to a person. But the second problem is the fear of death itself, right? That can totally paralyze a movement. So now the Quran tackles this head-on with a really powerful reframing of what life and death even mean. So how does it address this paralyzing fear? Well, it doesn't just dismiss it. Instead, it puts it into this much, much bigger context, a divine plan. The key idea here is a word, ekal. It basically means the appointed term of your life. The argument is that life and death aren't random, chaotic events. They operate on a kind of divine timetable. And this idea, well, it's meant to be liberating. It frees you from the fear of a meaningless end and allows you to act with real courage. And this leads beautifully into the second half of the verse. See, once that fear of death is reframed, the whole focus shifts to your motivation. Why are you doing what you're doing? Is it for some short-term worldly gain, or are you aiming for something bigger, something transcendent? The Quran is crystal clear. Your intention is what sets the horizon for your actions, and ultimately for your reward. All right, so now that attachment and fear have been dealt with, the Quran gives us a practical model of what this principle-based resilience actually looks like in action. The verse points back to history, to prophets and their followers who just got it. They've really embodied this ideal. They faced incredible hardship, and the response was basically a masterclass in how to be steadfast. Now, the term it uses for these ideal followers is Rabbani, and this isn't just any old follower. Actually, earlier in this same chapter, the Quran defines a Rabbani as someone who not only studies the scripture but actively teaches it to others. So their resilience isn't coming from some kind of blind faith. No, it's rooted in deep, deep knowledge and a real commitment to sharing it. And what's really cool is how the Quran breaks down their resistance into three distinct stages. It's a sequence that moves from the inside out. First, they don't weaken spiritually. That's vihn. They keep their morale high. Second, they don't show frailty mentally. That's laf. They refuse to give in their minds. And only then, as the third step, do they refuse to bow down physically. You see? True resistance, it always starts in the heart and in the mind. So what is going on inside the minds of these incredibly resilient people? Well, the Quran actually shows us their inner monologue. It shows us their prayer. And what they ask for is so revealing. Think about this. Before they even ask for victory, they ask for forgiveness. And not just for their sins, but specifically for their excesses, the ways they've gone too far. They actually locate the potential for failure not in their external enemies, but within themselves. It's like the Quran is telling us that self-criticism is the essential first step for steadfastness. You just can't stand firm if you're constantly blaming everyone else for your own stumbles. And here's the payoff for that mindset. Because they focused on the ultimate reward and took that internal accountability, they were also given success right here in this world. Their sincere, good actions led to a reward that was, well, complete. Okay, so once that internal mindset is set, the Quran zooms out. It presents us with this really stark, strategic choice about our external allegiances. Who do you follow? Who do you really trust? The two paths are laid out with perfect clarity. On one side, you've got a serious warning. If you follow the mindset of those who disbelieve, they will absolutely turn you back to where you started, and the result will be total loss. But on the other side, you have the alternative, a simple declaration that your real, true protector is God. The word used for this protector is Mawla. It's such a powerful word. It doesn't just mean helper. It implies a master, a guardian, your ultimate ally. And by reserving this title exclusively for God, the Quran is essentially invalidating all other false sources of security, whether that's powerful people, nations, or ideologies. It's saying none of them are reliable. And this brings us to the final point where this whole passage culminates. This is where it all comes together. It reveals a deep psychological law that directly connects our core beliefs to our emotions, specifically to fear and courage. Now, this verse makes a pretty bold claim. It says that terror, or a deep-seated fear, gets cast into the hearts of people because of a very specific internal state. So, what exactly does that mean? The root cause it identifies is shirk, which is associating partners with God. But this isn't just some abstract theological idea. Psychologically, it means you've divided your ultimate loyalty. You've split your trust. You're trying to serve multiple masters, and you're relying on all these different, often conflicting, sources for your security and your sense of meaning. So here's the crucial insight. The Quran is arguing that a mind trying to get security from a dozen different conflicting places is always going to be filled with fear. It's just inherently unstable. On the flip side, a mind that's grounded in Tawhid, the unity of a single, coherent source of authority, finds a natural, solid foundation for courage. A divided worldview is, by its very nature, a fearful one. And this really summarizes the entire journey we've just taken. It's a complete upgrade of consciousness. We go from being focused on a person to being focused on a principle. We shift from just reacting to random events to trusting in a divine timeline. We stop blaming others and start taking internal responsibility. And finally, we stop seeking flawed human protectors and learn to rely on the one true protector, the Mawla. So we're left with this really powerful concluding thought. This whole passage has been a roadmap for how to build something that lasts, something that can withstand the loss of any single person. And it kind of turns the question back on us, doesn't it? It forces us to ask, if principles are the things that truly outlive people, then what principles have we built our own lives, our communities, and our causes on?